Is Santa Clarita's hometown station KHTS. Make sure you go to hometownstation.com for all the latest and greatest Santa Clarita has to offer. And speaking of the greatest Santa Clarita have to offer, we have very special guests in the studio. Of course, it's this time of year where I get the opportunity to interview a lot of different SCV Man and Woman of the Year nominees. And today we have a nominee nominated by the Sebastian Velona Foundation. You can learn more by going to curebaton8.org, but we'll learn more about that in just a minute. But I have Michael Fox here, and he is nominated for SCV Man of the Year. Michael, thank you for being here.
Well, thanks for having me.
Appreciate you being here. Appreciate all that you do. So I want to ask you, Michael, you are, again, SCV Man of the Year nominee. This is your first nomination.
That's correct.
First time you've been nominated. How long have you been here in the Santa Clarita Valley?
Since 2009.
2009. Okay, yeah. So a good chunk of years here.
Yeah.
What was it that motivated you to get involved? Obviously, this one's a little bit different than ones we've seen before, and we also have a Teri Fox here as well. And this one's a little bit different. Of course, you guys are married. Your stepson is Sebastian.
That's correct. Yes.
Right. So what got you involved in? So that's how you got involved in this. But what have you been doing for the foundation?
We established the foundation in January 2017 to help find a cure for this disease. It's a fatal neurological disorder, and it affects children primarily. Yeah. It causes seizures, progressive blindness, cognitive decline, and loss of motor control. So it's a horribly awful, relentless disease, and there is no cure for it. So we are determined to change that.
Yeah, and so you've been involved. So what type of things are you doing? Are you doing mainly? Is it like outreach, or is it what types of things do you guys do with the foundation?
Well, we do pretty much everything.
Okay,
we do.
that's about how it goes.
Again,
yeah.
We started the foundation a little over a year ago, and we don't have a team of people, so we wear every conceivable hat you could dream of, from marketing to accounting to public outreach. There's nothing we don't do.
And Teri, I wanted to ask you, I mean, you've been dealing with this, right? This is your son that's going through this.
Yes.
And maybe walk me through a little bit of the journey there.
To explain Batten disease, because everyone that hears that, they're like, what the heck is that?
Yeah.
He was born normal, whatever normal is. Fantastic. At 4 years and 3 months, he had his first seizure. He went to the doctor. They said, keep an eye on him. It might have been just a febrile seizure from a fever, very common in children and babies. About 6 months later, he had a second seizure, and they deemed him epileptic at that point. And then for a couple years, he's on medication. We watched him having seizures, trying to regulate the medication. That works very well for him now to control seizures.
Okay.
It took a number of years to find that balance. Usually it's a med mix, and every child's different. And then his sight started going bad about 6 or 7 years old. We tried glasses, eye doctors. They couldn't quite pinpoint it. And then I went to see the ophthalmologist at UCLA. And at UCLA, his neurologist has been amazing. And he's been a huge supporter for us. And we've become very dear friends. And thank God for him. He fought for us to get DNA testing.
No, okay.
And that was very new at the time, very, very expensive, and a big, huge fight with the insurance company. Luckily, a lot of families get a little bit better care and coverage with it now. It was thousands of dollars to get him tested, and that's when we found out it was fatal Batten disease, which was absolutely devastating.
So it's very hard to diagnose.
Extremely hard to diagnose. Up until today, I could say it's a little bit different and better. Up when Sebastian was diagnosed about 5-6 years ago, in November it'll be 6 years. It usually takes about 5-7 years for a diagnosis. All of a sudden, your son or daughter, he has CLN8, so he lives longer than a lot of the Batten kids. A lot of them usually die between 8 and 12 years old. Luckily, he has a form where he lives longer, so he's doing okay right now.
Yeah.
He's almost blind. His speech is very hard to tell, but he does okay.
Yeah.
Like, he's still treatable, let's say.
Okay.
He's not in a wheelchair yet or anything, but it's a progressive decline. And they go from, again, born normal to 4, 6, and over the years, every child's different, slowly or very fastly decline.
Yeah.
So he's one of the slower ones with the variant he has. And so that's why we're here to talk about what we're funding right now is for a cure for Batten disease, for one. And we have a group of scientists that are absolutely amazing. We got into a Batten disease CLN8 gene therapy clinical program that we're trying to get to clinical trial.
Yeah.
And we're fundraising. It's extremely costly
Yeah.
and not funded or covered at all. It's scientists that are developing this. But the blessing is we have an opportunity to save my son's life and any child with Batten disease, CLN8, which most diseases, rare diseases, unfortunately, there's nothing. You told you have this and you will die. That's it.
To follow up on your last question, it is a genetic disorder.
Yeah, okay.
And so the only way you can diagnose that is to analyze your DNA.
Yeah.
Most people can't afford DNA analysis in the world.
Even now, when you did it a couple years ago, it was very expensive.
Right.
But even now, it's still
And
difficult.
we went through many years of diagnosis. That he was diagnosed as epileptic.
Yeah.
Then he was diagnosed with an eye condition called retinitis pigmentosa. But something tied all of these together. There may be people all over the world suffering from these types of conditions that don't know they have it.
Yeah.
The only way you're going to know it is DNA analysis.
Yeah.
And so right now what we're focused on is developing a potential cure, we hope, called gene replacement therapy.
Okay.
Where they take a good CLN8 gene, which the kids don't have, and it's inserted into the spine via epidural, transfers to the brain, and the CLN8 gene is inside a virus. Once it gets to the brain, a harmless virus.
Yeah.
Once it gets to the brain, it does what viruses do and begins replicating the good CLN8 gene.
Okay.
So our hope is that this will, once the CLN8 gene is in place and working, it will stop the progression of the disease. And our hope would be that in the future, if children are diagnosed with this condition early enough before they suffer any symptoms, they could undergo this therapy and prevent any kind of decline at all.
Yeah.
And our other hope is, obviously, if this works for this genetic disorder, we have to ask the question, why can't we solve all genetic disorders this way?
Yeah.
And I don't want to misquote anything, but we know they're definitely working, the scientists are definitely working on gene therapy programs for single gene disorders, not multiple ones.
Gotcha.
If you have a multiple gene disorder, that's a different development. I don't know where that's at in the science world, but we do know they are working on specific ones in laboratories. I don't know if they've been treated because a lot of it goes under the radar. You don't really hear until clinical trials have come out. But the first clinical trial they did develop for Batten disease, CLN6, it's the Gray family. He's a famous producer in Hollywood. I pretty much beat down their door to meet them when they came out in People magazine. I was actually at the Epilepsy Foundation dinner down at Beverly Wilshire with our neurologist. And I heard their story and was just absolutely bawling, going, I need to meet these people. They treated their two girls. Both of their girls had it. Very sad.
Holy cow.
At 3 and 5 years old. Speed forward 2 years ago, they were treated. Gwyneth, 2 years later, has not developed any symptoms
Holy
of
cow.
CLN6. Since the clinical trial isn't officially ended, we can, with observation of her, knowing her personally, she's doing extremely well. Charlotte, it seemed to stop the disease straight in her tracks. She has not progressed any worse, and she's in a lot of therapies trying to regain some walking ability, strength, etc. And they're developing other programs and drugs, if it's to be successful or not, to help reverse damage. And that's something if we can get through the gene therapy program and get this, that's another thing we're doing.
No kidding.
It could just help thousands of children out there.
He's Michael Fox. He's the SCV Man of the Year nominee nominated by the Sebastian Velona Foundation. You can go to curebattencln8.org, curebattencln8.org for more information. Thank you guys for coming in. Really appreciate you guys being here, and good luck to you in the future. And hopefully, KHTS can continue to be involved in any fundraising stuff that you guys have as well. So
absolutely
awesome. Thank you guys again, and congrats on the nomination,
Thank
and
you.
good luck to you.
We appreciate the opportunity.
Your hometown station.
KHTS AM 1220 and the new 98.